All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, and so that means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. We got a lot of documents that we need to attend to, and we're going to get to it. And so let's make sure we're live on YouTube, we're live on the locals, we're connected over on Rumble. Hello to our Rumble friends, our friends on Telegram, for our membos. And it looks like everything is connecting, so that's tremendous. We can go ahead and get started, so let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about Jack Smith and his deranged thugs who apparently maneuvered the evidence around. They got that banker box full of those classified documents, and they're like, rah, 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 just shaking it up. I don't know what happened. All the documents are all shuffled around. Trump's team very unhappy about that. And this comes because we have some new unsealed motions, and a lot has been going on in the Florida case. And so we're going to unpack what's happening here. Big issue, of course, is about the evidence. And you remember that photo that looked like this, that classified documents photo. And we all had some suspicions about this thing. We were calling it fake from the beginning. But, you know, fake, sometimes people say that's a little bit of an aggressive word there, Rob. Yeah, we are using it intentionally and have been for a while. We're sticking to it because it looks like what they did is dumped it all out on the ground, right? They just splayed it all out. And they said, wow, look at Trump and how careless he is with these classified documents. Well, turns out they may have even manipulated more to this photo. You see that some of these photos are covered up in what looks to be a redaction. And I don't know whether this is computer generated or not. We're going to zoom in on this photo big time today and take a look at some of the documents overlapping. But you'll see these cover sheets, okay? All these cover sheets, like this red, scary cover sheet that says secret, SCI, and this very scary top secret cover sheet that you see there in yellow. Well, it turns out, sounds like the DOJ and the FBI put those on top of there, okay, before they took the photos. So why did they juice those up with their little color scheme, but then redact some other documents? They could have just redacted all the documents, but a bunch of white paper doesn't look as scary as some red paper with some white cover sheets. So we're going to talk about that. Zoom in on that photo because it all comes from these filings. There was a filing here from Jack Smith where they're admitting that they failed to preserve some evidence, that they manipulated some evidence, that they were adding cover sheets and they were doing other things. So we'll go through that. And then Trump filed some responses and replies, and he asked to submit a surreply, which is kind of like permission for an extra reply. And he sent that in. And so we'll see. Todd Blanch is also fired up. The defense is lit on this story. They want to go in and they are now demanding more information about this. What do you mean you manipulated the evidence? What do you mean the documents are out of order and you put cover sheets all over this stuff? That is improper because you have now tainted the evidence. And so we'll go through all that. Trump's defense is outraged. Congress is pretty upset about it too. And Congress is now investigating. So they sent a letter over to Ragsdale, Office of Professional Responsibility for the DOJ. And they're saying, hey, what the heck is Jack Smith doing? He is not a professional and he's acting irresponsibly. So it's kind of your department. So do something about it. So Jim Jordan will have a clip from him and he'll come out and explain what's going on with Jack Smith. It's a pretty big deal and Trump's defense is rightly outraged. Then we also had some other big news. There was, first of all, the date got vacated out there in Florida. A lot of people on the left very unhappy about this. Judge Kennedy is so biased. Why can't we get a fair judge in America? Like, golly, what, you want a bunch of Chutkins running around? They would love that. But we have the trial date vacated. We'll take a look at the filing because there are new deadlines scheduled. And it's really interesting. Jack Smith is going to have to show up and defend himself essentially against all of these different attempts to dismiss the case brought forward by Donald Trump and his defense. So we'll go through that. We also have two filings that we'll attend to: the Vindictive and Selective prosecution motion, which has come from Trump's defense team. And this was under seal. We couldn't read this one for a long time. It has now been unsealed. And what it does, you can see, it goes through and it says, why is Donald Trump being treated differently than people like Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and many others, Deborah Birx, and others who had their classified document problem, Joe Biden and so on. And so we'll go through that motion. We'll also see what Trump said in response to that. We've got Cannon with her order, CNN not happy that the Florida classified documents case is not going to be happening. And then we'll wrap it up with Alina Habba in the House. And so, my friends, as you can see, we got a lot to get to today. We had on our members only stream this morning, we got into some Fannie land, and we're talking about what went on with Fannie. And so we listened to Nathan Wade. He gave this ridiculous interview over on, it was ABC News, something like that. And we also read through the court order from the Court of Appeals. So this will be going up on appeal, and that's going to be a big deal for them. So that also looks like the Fannie case is not going in this year. It's going to be postponed because there's a lot of appeals happening. Oh my gosh, I'm such, a klutz. Look at that. Sorry for the typo, America and world. All right, so we talked about that this morning on our members only morning stream. We'll have a segment on that coming out later. So if you want to join us when we do our member streams, of course, you can do that at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have great streams in the morning and have a lot of fun over there. We do after parties after the show as well. Now, before we get into other activities on the day, there was this wild story. You probably saw it. We've been talking about bird flu here. And this story came out over from the Atlantic. Here's this story from Health. It's an opinion piece, I believe. It says, America's infectious disease barometer is off. Uh-oh, bird flu. Somehow the U.S. is both over and underreacting to bird flu and other pressing infectious threats. Maybe they'll lock us down again. That solves so much. You see this whole story. They say, although this version of the flu is relatively new, scientists have been tracking this for 30 years. And now things are getting like they're a problem. Looks like a lot like a public health problem the U.S. should be well prepared for. We know how well prepared they were last time. They weren't. And so it's important that we get prepared, my friends. One way we can do that is with our friends at the Wellness Company. When we need life-saving medication on hand, we need to go to the Wellness Company to get it. So let me tell you about them. They have the only kit of its kind. It's a prescription emergency contagion kit from the Wellness Company. Provides you with a carefully selected assortment of effective medications for bird flu and other things, other illnesses. It's got things like ivermectin in there, hydroxychloroquine. There's a Z-Pack, Tamiflu, budesonide, nebulizer. Rest easy. If you need any of this stuff, you have it on hand. Comes with a free guidebook, so it shows you how to use it. And it comes from people like Dr. Peter McCullough. It's a must-have. At least every American should have one of these babies at home. And so ordering your kit is super easy. Takes less than 2 minutes. Go to twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. You can save 10% off. You'll get free shipping on the whole thing. Much easier than going to a doctor, cheaper than a single doctor visit. And so get your health secured today. www.twc.health/Robert and use code Robert at checkout. And these kits are only available in the USA. And so you can see this is what the website looks like. So get on over there. Get prepared, my friends, courtesy of the Wellness Company. Links are in the description below. All right, now let's get into business because we have a lot of documents. Look at all these PDFs, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PDFs. All right, I think we can do it. Let's get to it. All right, so starting in Florida, Jack Smith and his deranged thug prosecutors are now admitting in court filings that they manipulated some evidence. Some documents got shuffled around. They say, don't worry about it. There's an index and we can recreate some of this. But no. The defense knows this is a catastrophic problem for the government and they're going to exploit it to maximum benefit. It would be like if somebody delivered your pizza and they shuffled the slices around and you said, that's a little bit weird. Did they do something to the pizza? Did they not do anything to the pizza? Why is this pizza all discombobulated? You probably wouldn't eat it. You'd probably say, this is a strange thing. I don't trust it. So if you're not going to put a pizza in your mouth, why are we going to trust Jack Smith and his thug prosecutors to actually prosecute this case legitimately when there's evidence showing that they have wrecked the evidence? And so this comes from the government's own admission, and we're going to take a double look at this. We've already spent a lot of time on this photo, but more information is revealed about this photo. And so we're going to come back because Jack Smith also is now admitting that they put cover sheets on the documents before they took the photo to sort of make it a little bit more colorful, to add a little spice and a little flavor to it. Sort of like what they do on the Weather Channel. You know, when it's summertime, it's like all of a sudden, all the colors are dark red, like we're all going to die. It's like, wow, that's interesting. So they make it more scary. The question is that in alignment with justice? Are they allowed to just manipulate evidence to craft a narrative? Well, here's the government. Now, they admit that they did all of this. It's not us making it up. Here is what they submitted in court, West Palm Beach Division, Southern District of Florida. This is the classified documents case. And so this is from the government. We'll read through what they said, and then Trump just blasts them, right? He goes, oh my gosh. They filed this on May 3rd, so Trump's people will constantly refer to this as the May 3rd filing. And they dropped this one. We're all asking ourselves, when did they know about this? Why didn't they notify anybody earlier? And what is Cannon going to do? Now, here is what they say. Okay, all right, listen. On April 10th, government prosecutor, they say the court set a May 9th deadline. So Cannon set a deadline for expert disclosures. And then Walt Nauta moved for an extension. So here's a deadline. Trump says, I need more time. Why? Nauta had counted on leveraging his attorney's vacation. But when counsel's trial schedule excuse evaporated, okay, so they're trying to say, Walt doesn't deserve an extension of time, Your Honor. We need this now. We need trial now. Don't give him any more time. So Walt was trying to say, well, I can't have trial. My lawyer is in trial. But then the lawyer's trial evaporated. And so they tried to find a new basis. And they said the government's discovery was insufficient because he might want to disclose some of this at trial using an expert testimony. So they say, Your Honor, don't give him any extension. Okay, this is the government speaking. And we have given Nauta everything. There's no reason to delay this classified documents case. They lost this one. It got delayed big time, and it will be delayed massively. But they said, we give him everything, okay? We gave the defense technical support. We indexed all their stuff. We gave him material that wasn't even required under the rules. And so everything that they're saying here is legally baseless. And the shortfalls do not impact anything happening here. And so Judge Cannon, you should deny this motion, which obviously they did not. So let's zoom in. Now, in this motion, the government says, Nauta resorts to a familiar tactic. And for those unfamiliar, Nauta is Trump's sort of right-hand guy at Mar-a-Lago. They say Nauta is trying to paint a confusing, misleading state of discovery, and discovery is the exchange of evidence. But at the bottom, his arguments are uncomplicated. They say, first, Nauta claims that he cannot make the required disclosures without knowing for certain which documents produced in the discovery were recovered from the boxes in the storage room. And this is very important. Remember, this is basically a moving of boxes crime. Somebody moved it from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, then it was in a storage room, and then Walt Nauta came in. Trump ordered boxes to be moved. They moved boxes out. Then they came in and said, we did a search, and then they moved boxes again. So it was obstruction, right? It's people are moving boxes around. That's the crime. And part of the obstruction was that once they said we gave you everything, they moved boxes back, more or less. So Walt's people are saying, okay, well, I mean, if this is a boxes being moved around crime, you're saying the classified documents were in the boxes. We can't really have a good conversation about what's in the boxes until we know what documents you're saying came from which boxes. And it's a box. So we need more information about the boxes. And they say that's what he needs to know. He wants to know for certain, okay, where they were, where they came from, which documents in the discovery were covered from the boxes and which documents were found in the boxes. But he says both claims are flawed. You don't need that information. This is the government. They said the premise of this is that Nauta has not been informed which documents came from which boxes is inaccurate. We already told him this. He was provided that information many months ago. Okay, so we gave him a list of what came from where. We gave him an inventory. And the conclusion of his second request that he needed to know where the documents were within each box. So not only where they came from. Okay, document B7 came from box 10. But in box 10, where was B7? Was it in front of B6 and B8? Between B6 and B8? Or was it, was B7, in between 825 or whatever, right? Is it a jumbled mess or where was it? We need to know what box and where within the box. They say, first of all, you don't need this, okay? You don't need to know that information in order to do your job defense. They say, yeah, we do. They say, no, you don't. It's recently manufactured and it's not credible, says the government. They say, first of all, Nauta claims not only that he's unable to meet the court's May 9th deadline, which is tomorrow as of this recording, but also that is premature for this court to set any deadline at all. Saying the government timely filed our expert notice and Nauta has been lobbying an argument 8 days before this notice is due, should not have even set an expert disclosure deadline at all. Now, Nauta claims he cannot be expected to identify all this. This is inaccurate and misleading. So here's what they say. Nauta has everything he needs. He's got it all. He's asking for more stuff. This is kind of a traditional prosecutor's argument. It's a fishing expedition. They're just asking for a bunch of stuff they don't need. They've got plenty. Your Honor, cut this off. Make them get to work. So the government continues. Now they're going to start making some pretty serious admissions here. And they just got done speaking with a bunch of bravado, as we saw. They say NADA is adequately equipped, okay, to deal with this. First of all, the purpose of this rule is simple: to require notice to the government that they want to use any classified information at trial. Why do we have SEPA? So that we can litigate classified documents and whether we can get those admitted at trial. They say NADA's known about this for a long time. And so this underscores his gamesmanship. And so he's had access to this for months. He has everything that he's asking you to give us, Judge, he's already got. And watch this. They say, let us explain how we know he has everything he needs. And this is so shady how they are saying that he doesn't need more time. At the same time, they're going to admit that they screwed up so badly that that screw up is going to require them to demand a bunch more time. You know, they don't need any more time. And let me tell you why they don't need any more time. And in our explanation about why they don't need any more time, let me show you how badly we botched this, which is going to require a bunch of time to mend the botch. So here's the government. Jack Smith, Jay Bratt, the Mar-a-Lago Oompa Loompa, says at the time of its first production of unclassified discovery back in July, government prosecutors told the defense that it could contact the government to inspect the unclassified items that we seized back on August 8th. Now, at no time, not even for months, did NADA contact us. So we were open for business and they didn't come talk to us. Instead, NADA waited nearly 8 months until March to do so. That's funny because they waited how long to even bring the case in the first place? They wait years before they even bring charges. So NADA waits until it's a benefit for him. And you say that he loses that? Basically, he should have brought it diligently. Like, okay, how about your charges there, Jack? The government arranged for NADA's counsel, Stanley Woodward, the guy who was threatened by Jay Bratt, as well as defendant Carlos de Oliveira's counsel to review the boxes. Now, although the government made available all 27 boxes that they stole from Mar-a-Lago, counsel elected to review only 8 of them. And to facilitate the review, the government provided as a courtesy a chart listing for all the documents with classification markings that they seize. So classification. Now, the room in which the document was found, so it's a nice little Excel spreadsheet, Melania's closet, box number 12, if applicable. The beginning Bates number in classified discovery, which Bates is a numbering methodology for categorizing huge volumes of discovery, and the index code designed by the FBI, which is described below. So it's a nice spreadsheet. The number of copies of the documents found, the classification markings on the document, and if applicable, the corresponding indictment count. So they found classified documents they didn't charge him for, and then obviously the ones that he was charged with. They say this is but the most recent in a long line of accommodations. You see, we created a spreadsheet, just like Highlighter Girl in DC created a highlighter binder. It's got sticky notes on it. This is but the most recent in a long line of accommodations that our government has provided to you, which to date includes a curated list of important evidence that they say. We have hard drive arrays. We have even given you government laptops, all above and beyond our obligations under the rules, right? And so they say, we highlighted stuff for you. We gave you important evidence documents. Like, we don't care. We don't care what you say, government. In fact, if you say it's important, we're going to look at the other stuff and say what you say is important is not. On April 10th, the day the court set the May 8th deadline, NADA's counsel informed the court he would seek an extension. Now, the defense also claimed that he needed more time because he was going on vacation. He works hard, he should. And after that, a trial beginning on April 29th. So he says, Your Honor, I can't have a hearing on this. I'm out of the country and I've got trial. 3 days later, Trump also filed a motion to postpone this. They're trying to kick this thing out. And Trump indicated that his co-defendants joined the motion and intended to file an additional submission. Now, 11 more days passed, during which the co-defendants neither filed any submission nor indicated that there were any other obstacles to meeting the May 9th deadline. And then, 2 weeks later, after the court set the deadline and with only 15 days left, they're pissed, Woodward informed the government that his trial had been continued, so his trial is not going. But he's still going to seek an extension anyways. But neither at the time of this did anybody raise concerns. So he's saying they asked for more time because he's seeking an extension on an entirely new basis. He says that he claimed difficulty in cross-referencing materials in classified and unclassified discovery. He says, well, your spreadsheets aren't matching up. He says certain items in the seized boxes that I reviewed were in a different order from where they appear in the scans of the box's content produced in discovery. So Woodward is now digging into this. He says, this is strange. Okay, I went and I looked at some boxes. I opened them up, and the boxes were in order like this. Okay, it was like, A, D, C, B, right? That order. He says, okay, A, D, C, B. That's how I looked at it. I opened up A, D, C, B, found it in there. I wrote my, okay, this was document first, A, document D, whatever the numbers were. And then you went through that. Then he goes back to the scan, and the scan says A, B, C, D, right? The scan is totally different than what he observed in his notes. He said, wow, that's strange. So I'm having trouble. Your scan doesn't match what I just observed, A, D, C, B, in my notes. So what's the deal? But neither at the time of counsel's box review on March 12th, nor at any time in the month and a half later, did anyone raise any concerns about not understanding the order of the documents within the box. The government conferred with Woodward on April 24th and informed him the next day, April 25th, that it opposed his motion because the exact location of the classified document within a box could not inform what he needs to do with his disclosure. Nada waited another 6 days before filing his extension afterwards, 3 weeks after the court set a deadline, and included 2 additional points that never mentioned previously. He claimed he needed to talk to Trump's lawyer and Nada's intention to seek an extension of the expert witness deadline. But in its April 14th opposition, the government detailed the procedural history that led us here. And they said no extension should be granted at all. And so they say, now let us give you an opportunity. Okay, Nada's argument is not appropriate. So let me give you some background, Your Honor, on how this whole thing went down. They say during the August 8th search of Mar-a-Lago, when they went and raided Trump, the government deployed a filter team to search for the boxes before the investigative team performed their search. Remember, Trump has executive privilege. He's got attorney-client privilege. He's, got spousal privilege, right? Marital privilege. He's got all sorts of privileges. So they send in somebody, not just, the normal sort of feds who just wreck everything and gobble everything up. They sent in a filter team, a little bit more sophisticated, so-called, so that they could identify the privileged materials, literally filter them out, then send the other goons in there to do their raid. So the filter team took care, they say, this was the government, to ensure that no documents were moved from one box to another. Okay, and remember, the criminal charges are basically stemming from boxes being moved around and not turning the documents in the boxes back over. So if people are moving documents around, it's hard to impute guilt to Trump. What if the feds move the box? What if they move the documents? What if they're planting documents in different boxes? Just pick a box. Okay, Trump moved this box. This box is on security being moved. They just take a classified document out of that box, put it in that box. But it was not focused on maintaining the sequence of the documents within each box. So they took care, right? No one moved one from one out to another, but they didn't care if it was jumbled up. Like, let's say it's in alphabetical order. Maybe that's a better example. Right? You open the banker's box, the A names are up front, goes all the way to Z, but then you get it and Z's up front and A's in the back and all jumbled up. If a box contained potentially privileged material and it fell within the scope of the search warrant, the filter team took it. Then if the box did not contain privileged documents, the filter team gave the box to the investigative team and the team found a document with classified markings. Then they removed it. If they found a document in the box with classification markings, they removed the document, they segregated it, and then they replaced it with a placeholder sheet. Okay, so now the evidence it's got a placeholder in there. So the investigative team used classified cover sheets for that purpose. Until the FBI ran out because there were so many classified documents, at which point the team began using blank sheets with handwritten notes indicating the classification level of the document seized. Now, the investigative team seized any box that was found to contain documents with classification markings or presidential records. And so this, I think we can visualize in the photo, right? The investigative team used cover sheets and they ran out. There were so many classified documents that they began using blank sheets. Is that what we see in this photo? So when we zoom in on this, first of all, very curious that these documents were dumped out. Looks like a gratuitous display of the evidence. And it's the Trump documents. But when we zoom in on this, are these pieces of paper or were these computer generated redactions? So I'm a little bit curious on this. Did they also bring some scissors with them and cut out this little section here? Like if that is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, did they just cut that out? And why would they do that? So that they could see the date on that? Same thing here, right? My original thought was that this was a computer generated render for some reason. In other words, they just digitized that redaction. And I'm wondering why they would cut out a block of this. So if that is not a digitized redaction, if that is an actual sheet of paper, why is the paper weird? Why is there this little carve out here? Do they want to see that word? It says secret. So is that word critical to this document? So they made us see that. So if somebody got the scissors out, little FBI with his little arts and crafts set, after he had his chicken nuggets and Capri Sun, then he cut off the corner and then put it on there or slapped it on there. And we're curious. I thought they were digital redactions at my initial thought, but then this looks strange also, because this looks like when you zoom in on this piece of this paper, it looks like this is actually layered over another piece of paper. But again, this piece of paper is also strange. So this, I don't know if this is like tucked in an envelope. You might have a manila file folder and the top sheet is tucked under there, which is why you get this little aberration here. There's a layer there. Something is tucked under something. Or again, the FBI agent just cut a weird little corner. I don't know why. So same thing here. Maybe you say you want to see the date on that one, but then they don't have the dates on this one. Maybe you want to see it's secret something, secret there, but then they cover this up, right? So it's kind of inconsistent. There's a lot of questions about it. And then I guess my point is, in addition to that, they then layered on these documents. Now, it sounds like these are the cover sheets, right? They say specifically, this is a cover sheet. They're for classified information. So they brought a bunch of these and they did put those on top. So they are changing the evidence. Now, in my opinion, that looks way worse. A whole bin full of this type of paper that doesn't have stamped on it in huge red letters, secret SCI. That's a lot harder to identify. This side is much harder to identify than this side. This makes it look a lot worse. It's like splaying blood all over the scene. And they do that intentionally. Every one of these was manipulated. So this was not a true photograph. This was not an actual scene. Like, we're not recreating what Trump saw. Because you might say, if Trump saw all of those cover sheets, or like anybody saw all of those cover sheets, everybody would be going, maybe that's a problem, right? Maybe we can identify that. That's a big problem. Somebody should do something about it. But no, it sounds like none of those were on there. They put them on there. They faked the whole photo. And then they redacted certain pages with either digital or paper redactions. And again, if it's paper, they're having all these weird cutout here, weird cutout here. Then they just like put a strip of whiteout on that one, strip of whiteout up there. It's very strange. It is absolutely them manipulating the evidence. And again, they opened this page up. Like, why'd they open this page up so that we could see this document? It's 2A. So it's all just it's propaganda, right? It's all a fake photo that they literally engineered, and they are now admitting that in their documents. And then they spread that all over the Washington Post, and they said that that was legitimate. So now they are admitting it in their filings, that they slapped a bunch of stuff on top of it. Now, here is what happened after the seizure. They say, all seized boxes were stored overnight at a field office in Miami and then flown back to Washington the next day. Miami to Washington. A DC-based filter team then reviewed any boxes potentially with the privileged materials, and they provided contents to the investigative team on a rolling basis as the filter team resolved the privilege issues. All documents with classification markings were secured in areas approved for their storage, only to be accessed by individuals there. Now, after the boxes were brought to the Washington field office, the FBI created an index to correlate the documents with classification markings to codes. Document BB, right? I'm saying A, B, C, D, whatever. BB, and they labeled the classified cover sheets in the boxes with the codes for the seized documents. So again, they're fleshing out their spreadsheet. Now, the FBI also generally replaced the handwritten sheets with cover sheets annotated with index codes, but regardless, any handwritten sheet that currently remain in the boxes do not represent additional classified documents. They were just not removed when the classified cover sheets with the index code were added. So they're actually like filling out the boxes, right? They're adding stuff to the boxes. Now, in many but not all instances, the FBI was able to determine which document with classification markings correspond to a particular placeholder sheet. So that's a problem. In many but not all instances, so I guess they have some extra cover sheets in there with a placeholder sheet, and they can't match it. In many but not all instances, the FBI was able to determine which document with classification markings corresponds to the placeholder. So they pull out a classified marking, put in a placeholder, and they can't figure out what the placeholder matches? What? In most of them, we are able to. I had to read that 3 times. Okay. So they take out a classified document and they say, that is clearly a classified document. You can't match the two up. You're like idiots running this thing. Now, the government has taken steps, they say, to ensure that documents and placeholders remained within the same box as when they were seized. And we tried to prevent any movement of documents from one box to another. We've taken steps. For example, the FBI was present when an outside vendor scanned the documents in connection with the now closed civil case. And that was about the special master and I think all of that other stuff before the indictment came down. Yeah, there it is. Special master copies. Now, when the FBI created the inventory, so they get the boxes, someone else scans them. Each inventory team worked on a single box at a time, separated from other teams. So there was no cross-pollination of boxes. And during the defense review, any boxes open at the same time, and any personnel reviewing those boxes, they were kept separate from one another. In other words, there is a clear record of which boxes contained classified documents when seized. Because, again, they're moving the boxes around. That's a pretty important fact here. And this information has long been in their possession. And since the boxes were seized and stored, appropriate personnel have had access to the boxes for several reasons, right? So now they're in the Washington field office in evidence locker, including to comply with orders by you, Judge Cannon, in the other proceedings in this court, and for further investigative purposes. So we sometimes have to go in and look at the documents. Now, the inventories and the scans created during the civil proceedings were later produced in discovery in this case. And because the inventories and the scans were created close in time to the seizure of the documents, they are the best evidence available of what the order of the documents were in when they were seized. Now, that said, there are some boxes where the order of items within that box is not the same as the associated scans. Now, he acknowledged to the court that that is inconsistent. He says the government acknowledges that this is inconsistent with what the government counsel previously understood and told this court. We said the government responding to the court's question, Cannon asked, Mr. Brett, are your boxes in their original intact form as they were seized? They said, yes, Your Honor, they are, with one exception, and that is that the classified documents have been removed and placeholders have been put in the documents, in place of the documents, I'd imagine. Wrong. First of all, we're missing. We have placeholders that apparently don't correlate to the actual classified documents, and by the government's own admission, and they're out of order. So who moved them out of order? And why don't they match? Now, they say Nada also acknowledges that he or his counsel have access to the boxes in 3 formats. They have the scans, they have the classification markings. In the first production of discovery, we produce boxes. And so we've already given him a bunch of stuff. Now, his claim about the accuracy of an unclassified index are false. The index did not purport to identify the location of the documents within the boxes. Rather, it just says what room and in which box was the document found. And so the information we've given him on that issue is very clearly accurate. So they say Nada offers no explanation, they say, for how intra-box documentation or sequencing would impact his case, right? Nada says, well, who cares if they're jumbled up? Who cares if it's A, D, C, W, X, whatever? Doesn't matter, okay? Put them out of order, doesn't matter. It matters where the document came from, what box. They say even if NADA wanted to elicit testimony about where a document was stored within a box, that would not require him to disclose the contents of the classified document. And so there are no 793 charges against NADA. And so his difficulty in meeting the deadline is his own making. And so don't give him an excuse to postpone this anymore, signed by the Florida Oompa Loompa Jay Bratt. Now, this is in his request to basically keep this train on the track. We had up until yesterday, before this was filed before the vacating of the trial date. So obviously he loses on that. Okay, but Trump's people are very unhappy about this. Now they are proposing a surreply, and they are lit. So Jay Bratt included this as an exhibit, and a surreply is permission for a final reply, right? Usually have a full briefing of an issue is generally three motions. Somebody makes a motion, somebody responds to the motion, somebody replies to the response, and that's it. A surreply is like another reply. So Trump's people are saying, Your Honor, this is our proposed surreply. If you give us permission, we're going to drop this like it's hot. They say, we respectfully submit this surreply to address what Jack Smith has just said. He has conceded discovery violations and misrepresentations to this court by his office, and these relate to our SEPA filings. Now, although Trump will likely seek leave to file additional motions based on these issues, the most pressing concern is that we need to adjourn these deadlines because of this disclosure. Now, at 3:30 p.m. on May 3rd on a Friday, those thugs over there at the special counsel's office, they suddenly disclosed to this court and to the defense that the team at the prosecutor's office has failed to maintain the integrity of the contents of at least some of the boxes that they got from Mar-a-Lago. Now, using a dismissive and condescending tone to address serious contentions relating to these issues raised by Walt NADA, the office admitted, they said this, there are some boxes where the order of items within that box is not the same as the associated scan. The office then attempted to bury it in a footnote. They then said, sorry, Judge Cannon, the disclosure, is inconsistent with what the government previously understood and represented to the court. Oops. Although the office cited to an apparent misrepresentation at the April 12th, 2024 conference, the office from Jack has essentially from day one provided a full-throated but now conceitedly false assertion that they have done their due diligence and provided their discovery obligations. But let's continue, Your Honor, Judge Cannon. Trump's defense says, moreover, the May 3rd submission that we just read contains several vague assertions that only raise more questions about their failure to maintain the integrity of the evidence in the boxes. For example, the office indicated for the first time that the filter team was not focused on maintaining the sequence of the documents within the box. They say that's interesting. Well, that concession alone implicates every box at issue, as well as the scans. So were they just throwing stuff in the scanner? They're just like, just dump it out on a table or just feed it in one at a time. Now, the gravity of these issues is illustrated by the fact that the office now claims that the best evidence available of the boxes are the contents of the boxes are scans that are prepared by an outside vendor. In connection with a civil case that lacked any constitutional, statutory, or ethical safeguards that guide discovery obligations in this criminal case. So you basically, arguably, wrecked the whole batch of evidence. They weren't focused on it, and some outside vendor in a civil case, you're just going to copy and paste your evidence from them? Are we going to bring them in to testify? The people who were scanning the documents in a criminal case? Regarding the so-called cover sheets that Jack Smith's team used as replacements for allegedly classified documents in the box, the special counsel's office wrote that the FBI generally had replaced the handwritten sheets with classified cover sheets annotated with the index code. But what does generally mean? But they didn't explain why they could not offer a precise categorical representation about the process that was used instead of a general one. Jack's office also admitted that in many, but not all instances, we caught that one, man, the FBI was able to determine which document with classification markings corresponded to a particular placeholder sheet. Their gaskets are blowing all over the place at this defense attorney's office. They say this further suggests that even if the scans are the, quote, best evidence available, they are not a reliable record of the box's contents. We can't know what's in them because you can't connect the two. Your little placeholders are not, we don't even know what they connect to. You don't know. And you jumbled these documents up. And you told some outside vendor, who knows even who they are, in a civil case, I guess, to go hog wild with it and just scan a bunch of documents. And so now they're going to be part of the chain of custody and the evidence, and it's all manipulated. So the, quote, not all caveat, however, the not all, right? Well, many but not all, however, is consistent with the recent and inexplicable disclosure that they also found that the filter team was not focused on the order of the documents in the boxes that are at the heart of this case. It's a document case. What was around the documents? Was there something in front of the document that may impact the document? Right? Was there a classified document there? And then there was a sequence of other documents that gave it context because it came in a bundle? Right? Maybe these 34 charges are all just cherry picked out of other documents, but there's a bunch of other context in the middle that explains why that document is there. And they just picked it out. I don't know. We don't know. Maybe the original boxes would have given us some explanation on that. That would have been a valid defense, right? Maybe. On May 4th, counsel for Trump sent a letter with discovery requests relating to these issues to Jack's office. Now, Jack responded on May 5th, saying, we oppose your request for an adjournment of May 9th. Notwithstanding the recent disclosures that Trump and counsel have been in a criminal trial since April, and they will respond to our discovery request promptly. They say, listen, Judge Cannon, President Trump and counsel are deeply troubled to be learning of these facts approximately 11 months after the charges were filed here. The May 3rd Friday night disclosure by Jack raises questions about this investigation, about the handling of the evidence that must be addressed before this matter proceeds further. During a review of discovery and preparation for pretrial motions, Trump's counsel had relied on the scans and believed that the location of the allegedly classified documents within the boxes was exculpatory, meaning it exonerates Trump. Our basis was based on the scans and believed the location of the documents was exculpatory. It was our understanding that most, potentially all of the charged documents were buried within the boxes and located next to other items that provided favorable context regarding when the document was placed in the box. It's about timing. So something goes in first, something goes in second. When did the document go in the box? Weird. That's an interesting one. Did it go into the box after Trump was no longer in power? It never occurred to us until last Friday that the prosecution's team could not be trusted to perform the basic task of maintaining the integrity of such evidence, despite the expansive resources at their disposal and millions of dollars being spent on this case. And this is why President Trump's defense team has not inspected the boxes up to this point, and instead focused on other aspects of our defense, like motion practice and discovery review, because we didn't think that they were so terrible at their job that they couldn't even manage and maintain the evidence. They say, Your Honor, under Brady, the special counsel's office had, and they continue to have, an independent obligation to promptly make complete disclosures regarding the failure to maintain the sequence of the documents within the boxes at the time they were collected. Now, these issues implicate, for example, Trump's motion to suppress evidence seized from Mar-a-Lago and the motion to dismiss based on prosecutorial misconduct. Trump will move to compel further disclosures regarding these events in the event that counsel from Jack's office does not turn over these materials. And we're going to read the letter. He's demanding a bunch of stuff. Now, moreover, after those required disclosures, it's likely that Trump will file additional motions for sanctions based on spoliation of evidence, including a motion to dismiss these charges if Jack cannot prove in a reliable way how it seized and how it handled key evidence in this case which will be the central issue at any trial that happens here. And finally, these issues are relevant to Trump's SEPA notice because it impacts our experts. Our review of classified discovery, including interviews regarding the handling of these classified documents during and after Trump's first term, right? Because there is a story that these boxes were packaged up for him and sent after he left on the 20th or 21st, was undertaken without with the information in the disclosure. So counsel cannot reasonably be expected to specify classified information that we intend to offer at trial when we just learned that one of the most basic premises of criminal justice process, that is, the prosecution team can be trusted to maintain the existing evidence, it no longer applies. Now, if this case proceeds to trial or evidentiary hearings, Trump will now seek to use classified information to cross-examine witnesses about appropriate procedures for handling classified information. We're going to beat up this whole team about this. Defense counsel will also need to re-review the classified discovery, among other things, to consider new defenses, other expert witnesses, to identify these search execution deficiencies. We might need to bring in a whole new expert who's going to come in and say, wow, this is the worst search I've ever seen ever. In addition to all of the other valid reasons, this office recent disclosures and their mishandling of these contents and their misrepresentations to this court require that the deadline be held in abeyance. Signed by Todd Blanch and Christopher Keese, man doing double duty on trial in New York and crushing in Florida. Now, let's take a look at the letter from Todd Blanch. He also sent this one in. So simultaneously with that response, he sent this on May 4th, fired up. He says, all right, listen, Jay Bratt and Julie and David, senior assistant special counsels. He says, all right, everybody, we just read your motion that you dumped on Friday night. We're not happy about it. And he said, we're pretty troubled here, Jay, by your concession in your May 3rd submission that the prosecution team failed to preserve critical evidence. It was exculpatory information and we need it. Now, your failure to disclose this is an extraordinary, Jack, breach of your constitutional and your ethical obligations. And since the beginning of this case, our strategy has been that as biased as Jack Smith is in his futile efforts to help Biden make up the lost ground in the polls, at least the line prosecutors in this case would employ the minimal levels of professionalism and competence, necessary to preserve evidence that relate to a document case, which is literally the entire case. In addition to all of the legal flaws that we've identified in your efforts, it's now clear that even the most fundamental premise of the criminal justice process does not apply in this case. Your misrepresentation, your lies to canon regarding this issue are a pattern of your inaccurate claims. And this is unworkable, plaguing this case from the start. And so we need the following information from you. Each of the requests set forth calls for the production of documents irrespective of their classification level, so just give it to us. Here's what we want. Please provide all documents relating to instructions that you gave to your so-called filter team. We want to know specifically what you told them to do. You said in your filing that the filter team was to take care that no documents were moved from one box to another, but it was not focused on maintaining the sequence of the documents within the box. In other words, at the front of the box, you might have had all the Trump administration stuff before he left. And then in the back of the box, maybe they stacked in a bunch of other classified documents. Then they jumbled them up and they said they're all correlated. There's no difference between the two. Please provide all documents related to your investigative team that did an on-site review. Please tell us what you did with your filter team. We want all your communications between them. Give us all your documents related to the chain of custody and access to the boxes that were, quote, stored overnight at FBI Miami office in Miami. Please provide all documents about how the boxes were flown to Washington. Who replaced the handwritten sheets? And what was the process by which you did that? Who generally inserted the handwritten sheets? And why was there a deviation from that process? Also, handwritten, look, the list goes on and on, right? Please identify boxes, give it all to us. Signed by Todd Blanch, Trump's defense attorney, also with Christopher Keese. They want it all. Communications, inquiries about this May 3rd submission. Who were you talking with at your office to try to cover this whole thing up and tuck that away in a footnote? What boxes where you currently can see that the order of items within the box is not the same as the associated scans? Which one? How about this? All documents related to personnel who have had access to the boxes. You said that they have had access. Who are they? And what were the several reasons that they were granted access to go in there and rummage through the documents? How'd that all go down? So it is an explosive revelation. The government is messing up the key evidence on the case, and they don't even have the capability to connect their placeholders with the actual classified documents. Are those classified documents still around? Should someone there be charged with losing classified documents? They're not the president after all either. So Congress is digging into this. Here's what Jim Jordan sent out. He's very unhappy. He sent this one on May 6th after learning about this. He says, to Mr. Jeffrey Ragsdale, the lawyer over at the U.S. Department of Justice who works for the Office of Professional Responsibility. He says on Friday, Jack Smith acknowledged that some of the evidence in the classified documents case was altered or manipulated. Says the FBI seized it in its raid. And this acknowledgement presents some pretty serious concerns. You told us that Jack Smith had the highest professional standards. And so we ask to see what steps you're going to be doing to go investigate this. We know the story. On May 1st, Walt Nauta notified the district court that they had a discrepancy in evidence. The special counsel who's prosecuting Walt Nauta. According to Nauta's filings, they get access to certain documents in different formats. But they learned that they are not accurate. The scans don't match the boxes. 2 days after Nauta's filing, Jack Smith said, yeah, there are some boxes where they're not the same. Oops. With one exception. And that is the classified documents have been removed and placeholders have been put in their place. So that story changed. Jack says, or Jim Jordan says, the organization, the maintenance, and the storage documents that were seized by the FBI are going to be important aspects of this case. And says to that end, some experts like this person, Solomon, Alan Dershowitz, says this is essentially an admission of witness tampering. That admission reflects a broader trend of attorneys within Jack Smith's office to violate ethical norms as they prosecute Trump, as we know. Jay Bratt, a senior member of Jack Smith's team, improperly also pressured Stanley Woodward. Said, you don't want to lose your ability to be a judge, do you? Better get your client to plead guilty. Sick behavior. The mission of the Office of Professional Responsibility is to do something about these corrupt prosecutors. The role of a prosecutor is to seek justice. Jack Smith is not doing that. And he has a taint on him too. He's tainted with prosecutorial misconduct. And so given these concerns, we have questions for you too, OPR. We want to know about any ethical improprieties about Jack Smith, Jay Bratt, or anyone else. We want to know about documents, about the manipulation of evidence. We want all documents referring to Jay Bratt's interactions with defense counsel. Please give this to us by May 20th at 5 p.m. Sincerely, your friend, Jim Jordan. All right, he's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, unhappy with what we are all learning here because it's not justice at all. It is a politicized prosecution brought by Jack. Let's see what Jim Jordan says about this. He was explaining his letter and his efforts. Here he is.
What would you call this, Jim Jordan? I'm wondering if the issue of whether or not
document seized was changed. That one sentence says it all. Most people would call that tampering with evidence. The physical documents didn't match up with the scanned documents. And here's the irony, Sean. This is Jack Smith mishandling the very documents that he's charging President Trump with mishandling. Go figure. I mean, that to me is the ultimate irony here. Not to mention, of course, the double standard. We had Robert Hur 6 weeks ago in front of our committee. Robert Hur said Joe Biden met the elements of the crime. He knowingly kept, knowingly disclosed classified information. But he wasn't charged because he says he was a forgetful old man. And we also established motive. Robert Hur said on page 231 of his report, Joe Biden had strong motivations for ignoring classified procedures because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. So he had an $8 million motive. He met the elements, but he doesn't get charged. President Trump does, and then Jack Smith mishandles the very documents. You can't make this stuff up.
You really can't.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Somebody might want to indict Jack Smith. Wonder if Jim Jordan knows anybody who can do something about any of this. Maybe we'll see. Maybe he'll find someone who can do something. All right, Jack Smith manipulates the evidence. We, of course, are going to be here continuing to cover this. We've got a bunch more coming on this, no doubt about it. There are demands. We will see what Jack Smith says in response to those demands for more evidence. Judge Cannon may have some additional rulings to come out. Of course, we'll be here continuing to cover this. So thank you for subscribing, my friends. Wherever it is you're watching this, thanks for liking this video. We appreciate it when you share it with a friend or family member. That way they too can see what's going on inside this maddening courtroom. Thanks for subscribing, my friends. We'll see you back here on the next one. All right, we're not done yet. We've got a whole separate segment that we got to get into, but we're sticking with the Florida case because we've got a vindictive prosecution motion that we've been waiting to read here, and it's here. Jack Smith and his thugs are now exposed. We have the vindictive and selective prosecution motion, now unsealed, that we are going to get into today. Been waiting to take a look at this one because it is the argument from the defense that Jack Smith is targeting Trump. And they walk us through a bunch of other examples when Hillary Clinton had her classified documents and when many others had different standards applied to them. Why is Trump being treated differently? Of course, we know it's Trump. And the big news that they're very upset about is that the trial is also being vacated. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. So Jake Tapper and the CNN crew, very unhappy about that. We'll see what Alina Habba says as we wrap up this segment. But first, let's get into this filing. This is recently unsealed. We're excited to dig into it. You can see it is President Trump's motion to dismiss the entire indictment in Florida based on selective and vindictive prosecution. And we weren't able to see this one for quite some time, and now it is out. And so take a look. We have all of these compare and contrast situations. You know, one of these things is not like the others. Yeah, Trump is not like them. Okay, no one else got charged. Biden, Pence, Clinton, Comey, Petraeus, Berger, Deutsch, Birx, all of them, all fine, right? No criminal liability for them. Trump, of course, is different. So here's what the defense says. All right, Judge Cannon, they say we're here. Unfortunately, we have to bring this to your attention, but Jack Smith's a vindictive hack. Says, with one exception, there is no record of the DOJ ever prosecuting a former president or a vice president for mishandling classified documents from his own administration. Never. That's from the Hur report, Robert Hur, Joe Biden. Now, the exception, as we know, is President Trump. Dun, dun, dun. Now, the basis is what? His politics, as we know, and his status as Biden's chief political rival. And thus, this case reflects the type of selective and vindictive prosecution that cannot be allowed. And so this entire indictment must be dismissed. They say, Your Honor, American history is chock full of examples of involving alleged mishandling of classified documents. And those did not result in the type of politically motivated charges that are being brought here. Let's walk through a couple of these examples, shall we? Just to get a flavor for the double standard. Here, Joe Biden, they say after Biden concluded his term as VP in 2017, boxes containing classified documents, vice presidential records, and other items were stored in 3 different locations around D.C. There was an office near his White House. There was one in Chinatown and the Penn Biden Center. Now, the boxes at the Penn Biden Center were not even in a locked closet, and they remained accessible to Penn Biden employees as well as potentially others with access to the office space. Wow, sounds really dangerous and criminal. Hopefully he got arrested for this. Let's see what happened. On May 24th, the same month, that DOJ issued a grand jury subpoena to Trump's office. White House counsel Dana Remus, while they're investigating Trump, the White House, Dana Remus instructed Kathy Chung, Biden's former executive assistant, to go get the boxes from the Penn Biden Center. They're like, oh crap, we're prosecuting Trump. Do we have any classified documents anywhere? Like, we better go get them. If they find those as we're prosecuting Trump, that's going to be bad. You see how sick these people are? They are investigating their opponents while they're cleaning up their own crap. On June 28th, Miss Chung packed 13 boxes at the Penn Biden Center, and there would later be found to have contained classified materials. Chung emailed Remus, yes, 13 boxes, they said. There are clearly marked boxes with correspondence throughout the 4 years. Oops. On October 13th, Ms. Chung sent text messages to one of Biden's personal attorneys, indicated the 13 boxes were at the Penn Biden Center. And Dana Remus went there in June, but decided it was too much to take. Wow. So she's now floating around there. Oh, I can't fit all that in my car. It's crazy. The attorney responded to another lawyer for Biden who was in Boston, and he begun to sort through the boxes. So some other lawyer, probably doesn't have any classified material credentials at all, Remus decided to ship the material that could be relevant to future congressional inquiries to someone in Boston. How'd that happen? In early November, then, Biden's personal attorneys turned over classified documents. They said, we discovered this. Weird. At one of Biden's personal offices. Okay, but the reason I think this was all under seal is because this is kind of confidential interactions. So they knew in June that they had this. They told us about it in November. Okay, they covered it up for months. According to the Her report, Biden's attorneys found a manila envelope marked eyes only for VP that contained documents with classification markings. That's from the Her report. The attorney contacted the White House counsel's office, which notified NARA's general counsel, Gary Stern. NARA determined that the boxes from the Penn Biden Center included 9 documents with classification markings on it, 44 pages in total. FBI said, yep, 10 classified or potentially classified documents. So then, on January 12th, Biden disclosed that private lawyers had located another classified document in Delaware at his garage. Same day, Attorney General appointed Mr. Her as special counsel. 2 days later, the White House office disclosed that 5 additional documents had come from one of Biden's, quote, Delaware residences. This dude has documents all over the place. Forgotten about him. And was never the president at the time. On January 20th, the FBI seized additional classified documents during a consensual search of Biden's home in Delaware. Now, whereas NARA issued a public statement about the illegal Mar-a-Lago raid, NARA General Counsel Gary Stern acknowledged during an interview later, they come out, I can't, we got our library books back. They're all excited about it. They acknowledged in January 2023, the same dude, that someone outside of NARA had blocked the NARA's release of a public statement about Biden. Okay, so they rant about Trump, but they shut their mouths about Biden. Now, in January of 23, the FBI found roughly a dozen marked classified documents that are currently classified at the secret level in Biden's garage in his home in Delaware. And between January and February, the FBI also found 7 more documents. They retrieved a State Department cable from 1987. Apparently, it was declassified. The FBI identified 5 additional marked classified documents during a search at the library. They found marked classified documents in 3 notebooks, 2 binders, a freestanding document at his home in Delaware. And also, Biden talked to this guy, Mark Zwanitzer, a ghostwriter. He talked about the contents of notebooks that contained top secret level classified materials. He gave dozens of hours of interviews. He gave National Security Council information. He gave them notebook entries related to CIA briefings, DOD briefings, other meetings and briefings with other foreign policy officials. And he just said, I just found all this classified stuff downstairs, is what he explained it to this ghostwriter. No charges. In 2023, Zwanitzer also deleted the digital audio recordings with Biden. He covering up and deleting the evidence. During a subsequent interview, Zwanitzer also told Mr. Her that he knew that there was an investigation going on when he deleted the recordings, and he continued, I'm not going to say how much of a percentage of it was of my motivation. How much of the percentage it was of my motivation. So did somebody else tell him to delete those recordings? Like, is it 50-50? Yeah, I kind of want to delete them, and so does the Biden camp. So Joe Biden, right? Did he get charged? No, he didn't. How about Mike Pence? On January 18, 2023, Mike Pence also disclosed some of this. He says, we found a small number of classified markings inadvertently boxed and sent to the personal home of him. I wonder if that happened with Trump. Now, Pence had undertaken a search of those records And the following day, the DOJ bypassed the standard procedures under the Presidential Records Act. They requested direct possession of the documents. They sent FBI agents to Indiana to go get them late at night. January 20th, Pence's counsel agreed to turn over 4 additional boxes containing administration papers, in which a small number of the papers had the markings. Also, FBI investigated him. No charges for Mike Pence. How about Clinton? Bill. As discussed in the Judicial Watch litigation, shout out to Tom Fitton and the crew over there, they brought the Clinton sock drawer case. Remember that? President Clinton worked with a historian called Taylor Blanch on a, quote, secret project to record Clinton's observations. Clinton relied on the tapes for his autobiography. He wrote a book called My Life, and he talked about the Clinton tapes. Now, the tapes obviously contained classified information, but Clinton had been permitted to maintain them because they were a unique verbatim record under his control. The court said that. They said they're his records. Branch's published account confirms the tape contained classified information that they say are about military operations, intelligence assessments, and so on. Here's a sampling. During a 1996 meeting, Clinton explained, with support only from England, they attacked Iraq's capability. Here's another conversation. He said our experts were convinced something about bin Laden. In 2000, he talked about the port of Aden, Yemen, and bin Laden, again, the instigator. Right? All of this stuff talking about the North Korea missile program. Very secret, sensitive military information at the time. Now, as discussed in more detail, despite all of this, the DOJ, or NARA, they never even went to try to get the tapes, never even cared. There was no criminal investigation. There was no prosecution. The only person who tried to go get those materials was Judicial Watch and Tom Fitton. Everybody else, DOJ's like, whatever, dude, Clinton's amazing, shut up. Same thing with Hillary. Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State between January and February 2013. The House committee investigating the terrorist attack on the CIA annex in Libya killed 4 Americans. Now, while preparing to respond to the inquiry, the State Department learned that Clinton used a personal email account, and 3 servers stored at her private residence to conduct her official business. The first server was abandoned in March 2009, and they just, I guess, probably threw it in the trash, along with other records and data. It was discarded. Between March 2009 and June 2013, the second server was used to store data related to Secretary Clinton and other State Department officials for official business, private email. Like thousands of boxes. They're upset like Trump had like, a couple dozen boxes. Very no concern at all that she had digital boxes. In December 2013, at Secretary Clinton's direction, a private vendor migrated the email accounts to a third server and removed Microsoft Exchange. This process involved the use of a laptop and a thumb drive to transfer the data. And then Secretary Clinton instructed the vendors to wipe, and they were never recovered the data. Now, by the time the FBI got access to the second server, the second records and the data, they were stored in the server's unallocated space, and the location was consistent with data deletion. FBI found the emails on the second server were often fragmented and difficult to reconstruct because they were deleted. The handling of the data from the third server reflects even more astonishing levels of obstruction and destruction. In December 2014, Clinton provided the State Department with hard copies of 30,000 emails from her personal email account, which her attorneys got from the third server. Now, her counsel claimed that some of those were work-related. Around the same time, think of those as like 30,000 documents. How many pages do we have in Trump's case? Around the same time, Clinton decided she no longer wished to retain emails on her server that were older than 60 days. And so I guess they used a program called BleachBit to wipe the emails from the laptop. No charges. Congress sent a preservation order to Secretary Clinton. The attorneys advised the vendor of the order, but the technician told the FBI, we didn't preserve anything. Despite the intervening issuance of the preservation order, he had an oh crap moment, and he wiped the emails from the third server. Oops. He said, oh no, I just pressed the wrong button. Don't you hate when that happens? By using BleachBit, a program designed to shred the files and prevent the recovery, They permanently removed about 31,000 emails from the server, just destroyed it. Now, during the investigation that followed, the FBI, with the assistance of the USIC and the intelligence agencies, they identified 81 email chains containing 193 individual emails that were classified as confidential or top secret. So did Hillary get charged with 193 crimes like Trump did? 81 email chains. No charges. During the summer and through consultation with the AG, a team of DOJ prosecutors, who is also helping in this case, decided not to charge. Okay, this guy, George Toscas, investigated Hillary, said we're not charging her. This dude's working on this case, saying we're charging Trump. No one got charged with crimes. They used private emails to transmit classified information. They did it regularly. They deleted classified information from official State Department records, and they obstructed the congressional inquiry. All the things that they're claiming Trump did. James Comey, same deal. He wrote between January and April 2017, he wrote 7 emails or memoranda that he claimed memorialized interactions with Trump. Now, the FBI later determined that 4 of those documents contained information that was classified at secret and top secret levels. But he wrote one of those on his personal computer. Now, Trump removed Comey from his position, and then Comey subsequently used a personal scanner and a personal email account. Okay, he's fired. He's like, I'm not using my FBI stuff anymore. So he used personal email and a personal scanner to send 2 of the classified memos to his personal lawyers. On May 12th, the FBI agents went to his residence to inventory and retrieve all FBI property. Comey did not tell the FBI that he had copies of the memos, including the 2 classified documents in his personal safe. That's obstruction, James Comey. So they didn't preserve those documents. An FBI whistleblower provided the memo to the DOJ. Now, on June 7th, when FBI Director Comey, FBI informed Comey of its classification decisions, he provided the FBI agent who came to his home with signed originals of the 4 memos that he had retained, including 2 classified documents. But he never told them he used his private scanner or a private email to transmit the same 4 memo. And so all of those documents were still there. They learned of that conduct through another witness. So he's like, here's all my files. He gave him the 2 originals, right? But he has a bunch of copies. They're saying Trump did the same thing. Trump gave some papers and then he kept some others, some originals, criminal charges. No charges for Comey. Remember General Petraeus? Remember him? Former CIA director in 2015 was permitted to plead guilty to a misdemeanor violation. He handled 8 notebooks that contained classified information about war strategy and other things. He personally retained the notebooks rather than turning them over to the DOD, and later maintained the materials at his private residence. It contained highly classified materials. It contained code word information, and he allowed the biographer to access all of that stuff. FBI came in, they seized everything. He pled guilty to a misdemeanor. He got 2 years probation. Remember Sandy Berger, the dude who stuffed the documents in his pants? Notable thefts. Berger stole 5 classified presidential records from NARA related to 9/11. Like stole. He concealed the records at an office. He cut 3 of the documents into small pieces and discarded them. When NARA confronted Sandy Berger, he initially did not tell them that he took the documents. He took a misdemeanor plea, 2 years probation. And so the list goes on. Deborah Birx, remember her? She was also one of the doctors. Apparently she had some classified documents and nobody did anything. Okay, so great examples there. And they give us some case law and they explain how this works. They say, despite decades of similar conduct, okay, all of those people, no former president has been charged with crimes like Jack is bringing here. Dozens of public officials have faced allegations related to this type of stuff without being charged with the types of felonies alleged here. This record adequately demonstrates their improper prosecutorial motives, driven in an unprecedented fashion by a sitting president to go after and attack his opponent. And so Jack Smith's office should be required to produce the relevant discovery and hold a hearing, and then, Your Honor, you should dismiss this indictment. There is ample evidence that this case has been brought to attack Trump's candidacy. They tell us the record contains much more than some evidence on this. In April 2022, Biden leaked to the Times that Trump should be prosecuted. And then guess what? He was. Less than 4 months later, the DOJ raided him, with the FBI to raid him, with Toscas, the same official who helped oversee the non-prosecution of Hillary. So that dude says Hillary was exonerated, but Trump gets prosecuted. After Biden's subordinates had started to gather the classified documents from Penn Biden, Biden endorsed the raid. He is cleaning up his documents, wanting his opponent to get raided. Now, Biden declared just days before Trump's announcement, he said, we're going to make sure that Trump will never take power. And so without question, it's clear that this is biased. In February, redacted person 53 told the FBI that it is not uncommon for NARA to receive materials over time from senior officials after the fact. It's common for the documents to start making their way back in. Biden's documents were spread out all over the place. Residences, garages, private offices, locked in a garage with his Corvette. We know that Biden acted willfully. There's evidence, according to Mr. Hur, that he acted willfully to do all of this, but there will be no charges for him, Your Honor. This is outrageous. Hillary Clinton led the State Department. She used a private email. No charges. Bill Clinton, he may still have the documents. He may still literally have the tapes in his residence right now. Bill Clinton still has them. But guess what? No charges. James Comey, the same thing. He disseminated classified information to private parties about meetings with President Trump. No charges. He still maintained classified records, and also unproven obstruction allegations by Jack Smith's office cannot save the prosecution. They always default back to that. Well, it's just obstruction, Rob. He should have just given the documents back when asked. Well, how about Hillary? They deleted 31,000 emails. They literally destroyed email. Congress sent them a preservation order. They just flushed it down the toilet. Comey hid from the FBI. He had a private scanner. Berger stole the documents, tore them up into small pieces. And so, collectively, Judge Cannon, this history of non-prosecution and leniency for similarly situated individuals strongly supports Trump's motion. This is intolerable. This is unconstitutional. This is selective. This is vindictive. And so discovery and a hearing are necessary to meet through all this. So for the foregoing reasons, we ask that you order, Judge Cannon, the necessary discovery and a hearing. And then when we're done with that, you'll see, you'll need to dismiss this case. And so big motion there. Judge Cannon, after getting that motion and after learning a little bit more about the shuffling of the documents and other things that are happening in this case, she has decided to vacate the trial. And this caused a lot of waves amongst the crying MSNBCers. She says, all right, well, here's the deal. We're going to be resetting some deadlines on this thing. Here's the date. We have a sealed hearing on grand jury matters. That was telephonic today, the date of this recording. May 20th, when we were supposed to be in trial, nope. We're going to have pending and seal requests hearing. Then we're coming back, and we're going to have another hearing on the motion that we just read, or at least a related motion. That one's from Walt Nada. So Jack's going to have to come in here and defend himself and say, no, I'm not vindictive. No, this is not selective. He's going to hate that. Then Jack's going to have to come back out and explain why his pleading is sufficient on May 22nd. They're going to talk about it the same day. Jack Smith has some reports that are due on May 31st. Disclosures due in June. Notice in June. A non-evidentiary hearing based on Jack Smith. Oh, we're excited about this one. Remember, Jack Smith is unlawfully appointed. He is not appointed by the Senate, appointed by the president, or confirmed by the Senate. He's not a real U.S. attorney at all. He's not a real boy. Unlawful appointment and the funding of Jack Smith, that's in June. Partial evidentiary hearing on the motions to compel the discovery. Remember, they want everything from all of the other agencies, Secret Service and their text messages, Homeland Security investigations and their materials. And they said, Jack Smith says, you don't need any of that. So we're back in June. July, we come back for expert disclosures, reciprocal discovery deadlines in July, status conference at the end of July, and then a supplemental hearing at same date. So my goodness, we're already into July. Now, the court also determines that the finalization of a trial date at this juncture, before a resolution of the myriad and the interconnected pretrial and SIPA issues that we just looked at, it would be imprudent and it would be inconsistent with this court's duty to fully and fairly consider the various pending pretrial motions and issue the preparations and complete the things we need to do before this case goes to a jury. And so therefore, Jack Smith blown out here. The court therefore vacates the current May 20th trial date. Blown out of the water. An associated calendar call gone to be reset by separate order later, following a resolution of everything we looked at, consistent with Trump's rights and due process rights and the public's interest, that's us, in a fair and efficient administration of justice. Now, in reaching this decision, I've looked at everything. I've also reviewed the procedural posture, the 8 substantive pretrial motions, 2 of which have still not been publicly docketed because of sealing requests and redaction requests, extensive defense motions to compel the discovery on a host of issues, and many others. And so upon the review, the court finds the ends of justice is served by this postponement, by this continuance. And that is my order. Judge Eileen Cannon submitting this to us May 7th, 2024. So interesting. You can see these deadlines, man. Doesn't look like this trial's going. Lefties not happy about this. And you can see what they sound like on CNN. Here was Jake Tapper. This clip, courtesy of Charlie Kirk, says they're having a little bit of a rough time having to deal with this because this is where all their eggs were.
Delay. But also we should note Special Counsel Jack Smith really has voiced some serious concerns, if not animus, toward this judge.
Yeah, absolutely. And there may come a time when he tries to get her removed from the case. But at this point, that's premature. What Jack Smith knows tonight, though, is that it's very possible that he may not be able to bring either one of his federal cases against former President Trump before the election. And the election is a significant point on the calendar because if Trump is reelected, he can have Jack Smith and both of his cases dismissed. Now, here, this case, the classified documents case, postponed indefinitely. But the other prosecution that Smith has brought, the January 6th case, also on ice while the Supreme Court contemplates if Trump has presidential immunity. Now, in their arguments a couple weeks ago, they signaled that they're not likely to toss that case out, but they might toss it back down to the trial court for more litigation, which, again, that's why it would make it impossible to bring before the November election. Obviously, we're here in Manhattan for this criminal case. The other one outstanding is the RICO case down in Georgia. But again, it goes back to the strategy of delay. By trying to have Fonnie Willis and Nathan Wade removed from the case, they successfully likely pushed that until late in this year. And it's very difficult, again, if Trump is reelected, to put him on trial down there. So this long game that they've been playing to try to delay everything, overall, has been successful. The one case that is going forward is what was always considered kind of the runt of the litter, the least consequential of the 4. But it is still a historic case, the first prosecution of the former.
All right, Jake, get some Kleenex, get some tissues for your little eyeballs here. Look at his little face. Hey, stop saying that Trump is the one delaying this, okay? Jack Smith had been investigating this for years. Why did he bring his cases so late so that they all got piled up for trials in 2024? That was intentional. He didn't have to wait so long for all this, but he did. And it's about due process. Clearly, Trump has the right to investigate and defend himself, or at least that's how it used to be in America, as a defendant. And it's appropriate to give him time to read, 13 million pages of material. He was the president. Does he have presidential immunity? These are logical, legal questions of first impression. This has never been done before. So for all these people to frame this as though Trump is trying to delay, this is called due process. They just want a court with none of that so they can convict everyone like they're a star chamber and everybody can just walk right in and Jake Tapper can be the judge. So very upset about that. Of course, great news for Trump. Looks like 3 of the 4 of these things are not going. And as we talked about on our members only stream at watchingthewatchers.locals.com when we streamed this morning, the Fannie case has been accepted on appeal. So the likelihood that that goes before this 2024 election is basically nil. Here is Alina Habba, who's going to come in here and explain Jack Smith's in big trouble. kind of got his hands caught in the cookie jar. Here is Miss Habba.
At a minimum, it slows it down, right? In Fulton County, just like everything else. Well, not everything, but most cases have it.
Just like most cases, yes.
Okay, so in Florida now, the documents case.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about when this judge may hold the first hearing, or do you even see that in the forecast?
Well, Judge Cannon reserved and did not give another date, but she said there is a tremendous amount of pretrial. There's other issues that have to be handled first. One, mainly, let's not forget that what just came out here. We have found out that Jack Smith has his hand in the cookie jar. He was intentionally taking evidence, not telling the court that he had basically taken classified document covers, put them on the wrong documents because they were sloppy. And then what they did was put it in a footnote. They didn't think, when you put it in a footnote as a lawyer, that's, hey, I don't really want to highlight this, but it's in a footnote. And the people read it. We caught on. Obviously, our team is strong there, and they're looking at this closely. And Judge Cannon said, hold on. We got a lot of other things to do before you even try and pressure me, like you pressured many other judges, into having these rush trials before the November election. So I like to see when a judge does the right thing. I like to see even in Georgia when the appellate division is taking up issues that need to be taken up. In New York, when the appellate division takes up issues that it needs to take up in a timely fashion. That's the kind of law and order that we need to see more of in this country.
You're right about that, Alina. You're right. That is the kind of law and order we need, man. She has the best legal analysis, doesn't she? Just brilliant legal analysis. So, my friends, of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover this vindictive and selective prosecution. We got a bunch of deadlines that are scheduled out here in the Florida case. And so thanks for subscribing and joining us on our journey as we go through them all together as we cover this litigation. We'll see if all those stay on the calendar. I mean, at some point, Cannon might take a look at this compounding incompetency from Jack Smith, say, wait a minute, he's not only manipulated the evidence, but the documents are out of order. We don't know what documents correlate to each other. And he's dropping this on us at the last minute in a footnote, saying that might be a big problem. It does feel like vindictive prosecution. Maybe this thing gets dismissed before we even get there. We'll see what happens. But we'll be here continuing to cover it, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. We'd love it if you subscribed, liked our channel, liked this video, and invited a friend or family member to come over here and join us when we go live. We also have a great members-only community over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We talk about other stuff that we can't squeeze into here on these streams. We'd love to have you join us, and we'll see you over there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, let us leave it there on the day. We covered two good segments. Of course, now it's time to hear from you. Jack Smith and his vindictive thugs have been exposed as being vindictive. And of course, the manipulation of the evidence, the putting of cover sheets over on materials, the insertions of other placeholders that nobody knows where they, what they reference. All of that coming from the Florida case. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. Let's see what you say about all of this. We are going to, after we're done here, go on over to Locals and debrief on the day. But let's see who is joining us. Some amazing super chats and donos. My friends, very grateful for all of your support. Let's get this queued up over here and see where we're at. B-Man is in the house. What's up, B-Man? Says, so the prosecutor that questioned Stormy, she gave a lot of money to Democrats. Yes, I think we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, Susan Hoffinger, right? She donated money to, I think, the Democrats. And I think Matthew Colangelo got paid by the Democrats. I got two brag prosecutor stories queued up for tomorrow. Freedomgear.org, who sent me some awesome stuff. Freedom Gear, I got your stuff, man. So Freedom Gear sent me this, man. So check this out. Freedomgear.org sent this in, baby. This time, it's personal. Trump 2024. In the end, we got the quote, in the end, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just standing in the way, from Trump. And check that out, baby. Robert Gouveia, Watching the Watchers. Amazing. So I got this one. I got a couple other versions of it from freedomgear.org. So if you want to go check that out, check it out. Freedomgear.org, making some cool gear. Laser engraved. Awesome stuff. So really, really very cool. Thank you, Freedom Gear, for sending me this stuff. Freedomgear.org is where you can go take a look at some of that stuff. He says, Rob, yesterday, someone asked if the sidebar conversations were included in the transcripts. When I read Hope Hicks, it was included. I've seen other pages on X as well. So sorry answer is it is. Okay, yeah. So okay, we might have been talking at cross purposes at that time. So there's a couple things that happen. So when you go up to a sidebar, you can have a sidebar, that's on the record, and the court clerk is sitting there writing it on the record. You could also have an approach and have something off the record. So I think what we're seeing is stuff that is on the record, but the distinction here is outside the presence of the jury. So there's a couple things we're thinking about, whether it's on the record or off the record. If it's on the record, it's going to be in the transcript. If it's off the record, it will not be in the transcript. And so you can have a conversation that's either on the record or off the record. You can also have a conversation that's in the presence of the jury or outside the presence of the jury. So if it's in the presence of a jury, it's going to be on the record. But you can have, for example, you could have a conversation outside the presence of a jury that is on the record. And I think that's what we're seeing with Hope Hicks and some of those other things. So yes, if the question is, can some of the stuff that's taking place at the bench trial, at the bench, can those be on the record? Yes, they can. And I've seen that too. I've seen some Hope Hicks stuff that has been on there. So thanks for clarifying that for us, Freedom Gear. I know it can be confusing, and it sounds like maybe I was the one who got confused on what was being asked. But thank you for that, Freedom Gear, and thanks for the cool gear, man. Very cool stuff. So thank you for that one. We got John Libby says, hey, Rob, love the show. Glad to be a membo. What kind of chair do you use? Wondering if it's ever broke when you shine that big, beautiful spotlight, LOL. This is I don't know what it's called, but it's a pretty expensive chair. It's pretty expensive. It's a fancy chair because I like to bouge it out here on the show, but I don't know what it's called. It's one of the nice ones. I looked at like top 5 chairs. It's one of the, it's one of the other ones. I'll have to think of the name if I can think of it, but sometimes it squeaks. But it's high quality. We don't play around over here. Don't want to blow my back out. Thanks, John. What's up? Pritchie says, okay, let's go. Been waiting all day for this show, keeping my morale up. Good to see you, Pritchie. How you doing, man? Yeah, in the hospital. 11 p.m. UK time, loads of IV fluids and antibiotics, and home tomorrow, Friday. Awesome. Let's go. Very good to see you, Pritchie. Thanks for giving us the update. Pritchie is getting well rapidly, it sounds like. So lots of fluids. You'll be home tomorrow. Great news, Pritchie. Thanks for the update, my man. Be well. Hey, Pritchie, super generous of you, man. Thanks for doing this. So third proverb, Pritchie's bringing in 10 new membos. Third proverb, JF, Derek Z, Denzel M, Tony Baloney in the house, Mark M, Steffi's here, Fun Size, Space Time Continuum, Kyle L, and what's up, Terry B and Maynard also in the house. What's up, Pritchie? Good to see you, and stay well, my friend. Rain is here. Says it's sad that even on the trial's day off, there is still enough corruption going on for you to have a full show. Oh my gosh, there's a ton more that I could have covered today. We had to do Fanny in the morning. We had to do the Fanny saga this morning. That's how much stuff there is. Crazy. Good to see you, Rain. Stephen M says U.S. Code 595, charge all of them. Yeah, I don't know what that one is specifically, but I'm sure it's appropriate. They deserve something. What's up? Just Ranting says midnight is SA, so normally only watch the repost. Great show. We miss a lot of what happened in court anyway. We can get more of what was said. We miss a lot of what was happening in court anyway. We can get more of what was said in New York. So first of all, this is Just Ranting. I think Czar is from South Africa, which is cool. Thanks for watching from South Africa. This always kind of blows my mind. But you could read the transcripts. So if you go to the court website, you can go to, the New York court government website, probably even Google, Trump trial transcripts. You could read the transcripts. They're just very difficult to go through. So we've decided not to use those. They put them all up page by page. I can't mark them up. It would be a terrible read for us to do. And so we've decided to just go with Inner City Press. I think we get the highlights that way. But if you wanted to zoom in on it, they are posting the transcripts. They're just obfuscating them so that we can't read them. Travel Agent Amy says, this can only be of God. Jack's case is blowing up. Bragg's case is blowing up. Pretty much Fulton County accused of cheating, not in that word, in the 2020 election. And Wisconsin is letting their election person go. The Dems are such good planners, planning all this stuff to take place and blow up right before the election. Oh, me. Travel agent Amy. It is pretty interesting how it's all consolidating right now. It's the cases were crap. I mean, they were crap cases. We've been saying that from the beginning. The fact that they have gone this far is a little bit shocking, but you know, it's a new era of justice. It's about getting your opponents taken out, not about justice, and we're living it. Hey, Michael Gouda's in the house. What's up, Michael G? Good to see you. Welcome aboard as our newest supporter. We got Fidelity's in the house. Says, this is how high school walkouts penalize their school's funding. Any absence is a loss of revenue. Interesting, I see. So they pay per student, per day, per seat, something like that. Interesting. Fidelity. Is that related to something we talked about today? Milo Phone Bill says, did the FBI bring cover sheets for Biden's box full of classified documents? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they jumbled their documents up as well, but it doesn't matter since they didn't charge him with a crime, you know? Alice E says, it seems to me the biggest reveal was the promise of a judgeship. Yeah, that was pretty sick. Jay Bratt was sitting across from Stanley Woodward. I thought you applied to be a judge here in Washington, D.C. Kind of, you know, the president has to make a decision on that. It'd be kind of nice if you did something favorable for us. Thomas W. says, where's the S on the second stamped secret? There is space to see half of it, and that's not there. Where's the S on the second stamped secret? There is space to see half of it, and it's not there. They photoshopped it. So Locals is dropping over some comments as well. And here, look at this one. I think this is maybe what you're talking about. Says, why does pick number 2 not show the S in secret as close to the E as it does in pick 1? Says asking for a friend. So let's see. So if we zoom in on that, yeah, that's interesting. I see what you're saying. So, right, you have this concept with fonts that there should be the similar spacing between them. Okay, so like if you zoom in on this one, I don't know if I can zoom in any further on this image, but what they're talking about is the S right there. So if you look at this secret right here, let me see, versus this secret, you should see some remnants of the S right here. Like you should see like a red S right here, you know, kind of some stuff like poking out, but you don't. So why is that? And is this like whiteout or is this Photoshop? And if it is Photoshop, how come they Photoshopped, like did they Photoshop a layer? So this white piece of paper is like a layer? What's going on here? And that S is missing. There should be some red ink right there. It's too spaced out. So yeah, a lot of questions about this image. And I know we've already talked about this image before and already called it fake, but it's more is revealed. It's like even faker than we thought. It's pretty incredible. All right, so amazing point on that. Thanks for, again, flagging that for us. And let's see what else we've got in the house. Thomas W., thanks for that. We also had this one from Milo Phone Bill. Shares this one and says, and this was Biden's secure storage place. Is that Hunter's head in there? I don't know what that image is. I think that's the garage, but it looks really grainy, and I can't tell if that's Hunter's crackhead over there or something. So we're just going to leave that one out. But Milo Phone Bill, yeah, it was not a secure place. It was like a dumpster in his garage. It was sick. Thank you, Milo. What's up? Spuds is here. Says they were photoshopped more than Stormy's pictures were. But yeah. What's up, Just Ranting? Hey, a new supporter. Welcome aboard, Just Ranting. Good to see you. We've got this one from Senior Chief says, I'm waiting for the day that Juan the Con Mercan tries to tell Trump his trial is extended yet again, and he will have to miss his inauguration due to his mandatory attendance at trial for yet another kangaroo to testify that he heard about how many he may have jaywalked at some point between 2000 and 2015. Yeah, they just start going back through all the Trump's like parking tickets. That's a felony now. Maybe New York will pass another law. Good to see you, Senior Chief. Thanks for the nice dono. Just ranting. What's up? Bringing in some dude as a new membo. I'd rather be skiing says, come on, Rob. In the FBI's defense, I imagine it's hard to keep track of the super secret dangerous documents you're hunting while fighting other agents on who gets to wear Melania's undergarments first. It's probably true. They were all so giddy. They're like, wow, women's underwear. We haven't seen that before. A bunch of FBI agents, you know. Wow, is this what a woman's closet looks like? Never seen that before. So they were just all excited. Wow, look at this. All right, what's up, Cowboy Rob? How do you think the FBI should have properly packed the evidence upon arrival and taking these documents in custody? How should that have been done? Well, I mean, come on, let's be real here, okay? I'm a criminal defense attorney. There is no right way for them to do it. Whatever they do, I'm going to have a problem with it. That's just by nature. So there is no right answer to this. And that's the point of being a defense attorney. And they could have done anything, and I would have complained about it, because that's what we do. That's how you win a case. Say, how dare you mishandle this evidence? I'm outraged by this. This is the most egregious breach of evidence handling I've ever seen in my entire career. You're like, you just said that yesterday. I know. And this is worse than that. Much worse. And so it's kind of what we do. But, you know, arguably you could say that we put in, some packing foam or something like that, right? Talk to a mover. Okay, how does a mover secure a very valuable thing? They probably put, some moving foam in there so that stuff doesn't shuffle around when you're moving stuff. Maybe seal it up, with some sort of plastic on it, right? You have seals on it, and make sure nothing moves around. Put up an inflatable thing in there, so it's as preserved as you could possibly get it. Photograph the whole thing, bundle it up. Then I'm like, as a defense attorney, I'm like, oh crap, that is exactly the same thing. Like they do this with blood vials. The blood vials they package up, they seal them, they write their names on it. If anybody messes with a DUI blood vial, if you even open up, right? If somebody opened up the thing when they shouldn't have opened it, that's a huge, what? Why'd they open it? Somebody takes out the vials, manipulates, something's rotated, something's cracked, something's not sealed appropriately. We lose our bananas. Doesn't mean anything happened at all. You can get blood results thrown out if the person who transported it is not testifying, right? Is missing. And even if the package is the same, because you don't know if the person put the package on a microwave, your blood vial on a microwave or something. So it's about the preservation of evidence. So there's really no right answer. I'd be furious anything that they did, right? That's what we do. Charlie Wolf King, what's up? Charlie Wolf King Reed in the house. Thank you for sending in a nice dono. We got this one from Chubby says, the classified documents case is starting to bear a shocking similarity to OJ trial. Those accusing the crime fudging and possibly even planting evidence. It's funny how it's coming back to bite them. Funny how the mainstream media are crying about the delayed date, but completely ignoring this evidence and this tampering revelation. Yeah, they're saying that she's biased. Did you see what they did to the evidence? Do you have any problem with that? Hey, Milo Phone Bill says, I bleach bit 30,000 emails. You could not make a few pilot logs disappear. Yeah, she's hitting Bill on the Epstein. She's like, it was like entry. They hand wrote it, Bill. Why didn't you just put some white out over that? Hey, Sandra, what's up? Sandra M says, thank you again. Practice in interpreting has helped me pass a pre-test for a certification course today. Amazing. Congratulations, Sandra. Sounds like you're on your way to something great over there. Sounds like it's fun. Pre-test for certification courses. Always good to get those certifications. That way you know you're certified. Salty Sarge says, Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner had their own laptop from her work with Hillary. It had 600,000 emails on it. Under the file name INS, insurance, that disappeared, just saying. That's amazing. Anthony Weiner. And I saw Huma was with Soros now, the Soros kid, for whatever reason. I'm like, dude, you're worth like a couple $1 billion. What are you doing? Okay, anyways. Michelle P. I wonder when all of the people who moved Biden's documents around from place to place will be prosecuted. Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be a nice country of equal justice under the law if that would ever happen. But that's not the current America anymore, unfortunately, Michelle. Thank you for the dono. Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in new membos. What's up? Jeffrey D's coming in. Rocco R. Henry G. We got Dixie Dogs and Robin P. coming in, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man. in the House. Salty S says, what's up, Salty Sarge? Says, Jack Smith is like an attack dog after a car, and now he has caught it. Too bad it's being driven with a cannon. Oh, boom! From Cannon. What's up? Jeffrey Adams says, Rob, I will bet you a cup of coffee that SCOTUS will not rule on the presidential immunity this year. Okay, that's okay. That sounds fine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they will. Yeah, so I'm kind of doesn't feel like a fair bet, but sounds good. Bet's on. What's up? Ray Ronk says, my soldiers are stopping Hamas support across the nation. So proud of them. Ray Ronk, my soldiers are stopping Hamas support across the nation. I don't know what that. You better be careful, Ray. FBI is going to show up over there. First Amendment says, hey, Rob, Warrior needs our prayers. Well, he's got them. Warrior or she. Prayers going out to Warrior. Is there more to that story? Let's see. Knox is here. Defense attorney in Texas says, happy Wednesday, all. I have always been amazed at the speed with which these courts got Trump's cases on the docket. In my courts, it is common for a defendant to be in custody for a year or more waiting trial. They are preferentially set as they are in custody. 100% Knox. I've worked on single criminal defense cases for years, like not complicated cases, just because there's multiple co-defendants. They're complicated cases. I'm waiting on some other gang member's case to resolve. It's like they're designated complex. They could take at least a year. I've worked on cases for 2 years that are like basic cases for 2 years just because of the mechanics. And, you know, it just takes time. You could push it to trial. You could push it faster from a defense perspective. But if you're trying to work something out, you kind of just go along with it. And maybe your client likes to be out of custody, you know, not really a big rush for it. These cases, for the size and the magnitude, have been insanely fast. I don't think it would ever happen in Arizona. And it's happening in Arizona. We got 18 people indicted. We'll see how fast that goes. Well, I don't think it'll go fast unless they accelerate it, right? Unless it's intentional. What's up? Cliff N says, thanks for a great review of Jackie. He has quite a history of being a political tool. No doubt about that. And yeah, I'm getting up to speed on that 8-0 case, that McDougal case as well. And yeah, this one came in from Joshua Schwab. Joshua, thank you. Yeah, that nice catch on that one. So Joshua Schwab gave us that image. Why does that looks a little different, huh? You know, I'm not a graphicologist, I'll tell you that, but it does look a little different. Like the S is spaced out. Why is that? Great question. Joshua S, right? You look at these documents with a fresh set of eyes. It's weird what comes out. Hey, Knox is here, sending healing prayers over to our friend Pritchie, who is recovering rapidly. Hey, 595, 18 U.S. Code 595 is a crime about interference by administrative employees of the government. Interesting statute there. I think that was by Stephen M. What's up, Stephen? CF Rob, Christian Fellowship Rob says, look at my photo meme posted to Telegram and X with the title, I could use a mean Trump tweet and 198-gallon gas right now. The show's gas is at 888 and 0.9 out of 10 from Rob. Says, evil never sleeps, Rob. Stay vigilant, watchers. That's true. Evil never sleeps. What's up, Jack? Says, man, I missed the entire stream. So much going on right now. We missed you, Jack. For the Trump documents, did the GSA ship all the documents that Trump had at Mar-a-Lago or just a portion of them? I think it was just a portion of them. I think that there were multiple different transports. There were some I believe, and I could be wrong on that, but I believe that there were multiple transports. There were some that actually came with Trump and some Trump people, and then there were others that were shipped over there, which is why it is a very important, you know, the doc and the box are very important and how they were all being shipped and moved around. So the fact that they're not preserved is just strange. Goofy for Jesus as our newest supporter. Welcome aboard, Goofy for Jesus. Jennifer says, cheers to Rob, mods, and the chat, and to you, Jennifer. Have a beautiful rest of your hump day, fam. It is Wednesday. That means tomorrow's Thursday, and the day after that is Friday. Pretty sure. Cowboy Rob, what's up, Jennifer? Thanks for that, and cheers to you. Cowboy Rob says, I would think that if they were in the boxes as that they were at the premises, that box should be sealed, like putting a plastic bag as in sealed. Signed, left alone until court. Yeah, exactly. Like a good analog would be the blood vials in a DUI case. They put them, like, you know, go through multiple seals. And then they put them in there. They write the name on it. They take pictures of it. It's sealed. It's like, a sterile, like there's blood, in there. It's like a sterile thing. So, and when it goes to the crime lab, they say, when they go through their testimony there in a DUI defense, they bring out the crime lab technician person and they say, oh, I inspected it before I opened it. I looked at it. I made sure it was all sealed and I double checked this, and they have a whole, script that they reveal when they explain it. So yeah, if it's open and stuff's moved around, that compromises the evidence. It doesn't matter if nobody did anything to it. You still have questions. You still have reasonable doubt. It's reasonable for a person to doubt it. Right? If your DoorDash delivery comes to you and someone opened it up and there's movement in there, you're like, that's not where that's supposed to be. You don't know what they did. That's the problem. And so if they say, no, it's all safe, you can eat it, you go, It's reasonable to doubt that. Hey, look at this one. Where's this from? 888? Gosh, that's brutal. The Rubos are sharing, so Warrior Heart, they're sharing some prayers for Warrior Heart. This looks like a very good one. The Rubos say, we lift Warrior Heart 2024 up in prayer, and they share this beautiful passage from Ephesians 6:10-18. And we'll let you read that on your own time, but it looks very, very powerful. And so we'll be sending that love and good energy over to Warrior Heart 2024. And the Rubos, man, they have the best prayers. Thank you to the Rubos. And prayers to Warrior Heart 2024 in the house. Amazing. We got Carrie M. says, any genocidist is a sociopath. And as a native, which is greater than as a Native American, I see you. From Carrie Mache. It's a very interesting comment. Any genocidist is sociopathic. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, if you think that a whole group of people should be eliminated, that's a pretty big problem. I think sociopathy is probably the worst of your problems. But all right, so my friends, amazing donos. Thank you so much for sending those in. Very grateful for your support and your amazing and brilliant comments. We love going through those. Let's see who's joining us over on X before we wrap it up and go on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to debrief the day's activities. Fred Petamonte has a bunch of people in Devil's Horns. Fred Petamonte's got some pictures of Jay Bratt and Jack Smith, so we know who those people are. What's up, Shane Williams? Says, longtime viewer on YouTube, just stopping by to say hello. Good to see you there, Shane, in the house. We've got CF Rob. We got Hugh, last name Jass. Hugh, last name Jass, says, Gouveia is the best trial update guy on X. Well, thank you, Hugh, last name Jass. Al Holman says, question, was the filter team on site or were the boxes filtered in DC or both? Yeah, good question. I don't think I remember that. Probably both. I think we read today that the filter team went in first at the raid. So they were definitely at Mar-a-Lago. Like they went in first, filtered a bunch of stuff out. But I would imagine they also went back to DC and probably continued to identify new things that needed to be filtered. So I would say probably both. Now, where were the boxes filtered? I think it was both, because they said that they did then also go through individual boxes one by one and they were separated out. Hey, what's up? LR Customs likes the Mar-a-Lago Oompa Loompa. Well, it's true. The dude's apparently like tiny. Salty Sarge says, Rob, never to worry much about misspelling the title for the show. I am farsighted and often a victim of auto Keurig. Hey, Buff Chetty says, thank you, Rob. We're 3 babies deep over here. Whew, that's a lot of kids, man. We're growing family. Azok, wonder what papers they brought into Trump's house when they did not let the lawyers watch what they were doing. Crypto nerds over there. What's up, Alfred E. Newman? Apparently there's worms in RFK's brain. Okay. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, you don't want worms in your brain. I don't think. Probably not a good solution. So my friends, those were our friends on X. It's grateful to have those amazing comments on X. If you want to join us over there, you know where to find us. It's at Rob Gouveia ESQ. And then you can always, of course, follow other watchers out there in the X wilderness on the platform there. That, my friends, though, is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We're going to debrief the show, hang out, and have a conversation about some other items. If you want to join us, come join us. We'd love to have you. We do streams in the morning, 6 days a week, including on Saturdays. We really try to deliver for our members. There's a lot to cover that we can't get to here, and that's where we do it. In the mornings, we get our bearings straight. And so come and join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also have our website, robertgovea.com. Bunch of PDFs today. We post them all over there if you want to download them. Our merch store is there. Our show calendar is there. Our show reports are there, and our daily newsletter that goes out every day after the show. WatcherLodge.com is where we have our Sovereignty Saturdays, and those Sovereignty Saturdays, the pre-recordings from the last 5 of them are now up and available there, so you can go sign up for free and check those out as well. But that is it for us on the day. And yesterday, yours truly committed an epic failure on this program by failing to acknowledge our incredible mods, and we're not going to let that happen here today. So double ultra shout out to our mods who help mod the fort down and keep things nice and orderly around here. Our friends K Bean, Just Cause in the house. We got Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zach Nichols, Janek, Dog Digger, Economy Pilot, and Donut Mind Me. All modding the fort down for us today and yesterday. Grateful for our amazing and outstanding mods. Our Meme Smith, Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan, NA10, Geegum Geegum, and of course, Glocky McGlock. Always grateful for them keeping the train on the track and making this place nice and beautiful with our amazing and fun memes. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and we would love to see you there. But if not, well, that's okay. We're coming back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a doozy because we have Stormy Daniels, who is going to be back on the stand. We don't know if we'll have a full day of her. She's going to be getting pounded again by Susan Nicholas up there on the bench. And so that's going to be fun. We've also got an update on Matthew Colangelo. He got a bunch of money from the DNC. Others have donated to the Democrats. And so we'll have a full day back in New York in the Bragg prosecution, and it's going to be amazing. So come and join us. We'd love to see you there tomorrow. And we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.